Turn it up. Play it. Yeah. Great to see you. Ah, shucky ducky, as the man says. It is great to be here with you, but it is even better that you are here because you care. You want to be informed. You are involved, and you are inspired to take this nation back. Many of you have heard me refer to Dr. Benjamin Mays, president of Morehouse College, where I attended school. One of his favorite quotes I use often, which says, "Let it be borne in mind that the tragedy of life does not lie in not reaching your goals. The tragedy lies in having no goals to reach for." It's not a calamity to die with dreams unfulfilled, but it is a calamity to have no dreams. You know, the dreams that our founding fathers had about creating the greatest nation in the world based upon life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, their dream of this great nation and the dreams of our children and our grandchildren are under attack, but the good news is we can take it back. That's why you're here. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. When you look at the fact that this nation has become a nation of crises, we are living a national nightmare. We have an economic crisis. We have an entitlement spending crisis. We have an energy crisis. We have an immigration crisis. We have a foggy foreign policy crisis. We have a moral crisis. And the biggest crisis is a severe deficiency of leadership crisis in the White House. We are living a nightmare. Because it appears as if nothing gets fixed. Problems don't get solved. They get worse, or they create more problems. He said, that's all they know how to do. But we've become a nation of crises, and we are living in this nightmare because when I was doing my radio show before I gave it up recently, I would have callers call 2 years ago, and they would express, Mr. Cain, I am concerned about the future of America. And then, as late as January, I was getting calls from people who would express, Mr. Cain, I am fearful about the future of America. And that's the anxiety that we all feel about what's going on and what's not happening. The time does not permit for me to go through all of those crises, but trust me, I have some ideas for every one of them. You can find them at hermancain.com. H-E-R. You can find them at hermancain.com. Hermancain. Like in the Bible, but I didn't kill anybody. Because we've outlined what I call common sense solutions. And the thing about it is, it will not take rocket science to get America back on the right track, it's just going to take leadership and the will of the American people. You already showing that will. You expressed that will last year when we took back control of the House of Representatives, and you're going to do it again in 2012. The will of the American people. Now, if I were president, I'm just saying, here's what I would do about the economy, which is one of our biggest challenges. This economy is analogous to having a train stuck in neutral. One boxcar has nearly 15 million people unemployed in it. Another boxcar has small businesses that are hanging on for dear life in order to try to stay afloat in it. You've got another boxcar of all of the businesses that have filed for bankruptcy versus a year ago because they've had to throw in the towel. And then you have the caboose that's loaded with Obamacare, loaded with the Dodd-Frank legislation, loaded with $1 trillion in spending that didn't stimulate the economy, loaded with a $14 trillion debt that we are going to leave our kids if we don't do something about it. The reason that this economy is not moving because there's no engine with the right fuel in it to move this economy. One of President Obama's senior advisors mentioned a couple of weeks ago that in order for this economy to really get in a recovery, that it's going to take the private sector to lead it out. He's right. The private sector is the engine of this train, folks. And unfortunately, this administration has not put fuel in the engine. Here's what Herman Cain would put in the engine to get this economy moving and jobs created. Number one, a max 25% tax, corporate and individual. Lower the corporate and individual tax rates because we are the only nation on the planet that has not lowered the top corporate tax rate in the last 15 years. Secondly, take capital gains taxes to zero. Don't cut it, don't reduce it, take it to zero. Let American businesses do what they do best. Number three, suspend taxes on foreign repatriated profits. I heard one estimate that said that that could be as much as $3 trillion in other countries that have been generated by U.S. companies. But if they bring those profits back home, they get taxed again. You know, common sense was what my dad majored in growing up. Dad didn't have a lot of formal education. But Dad, in my opinion, had a PhD in common sense. And Dad would ask the question, let me get this right. $3 trillion are sitting offshore that could come home. Now, since they won't suspend the tax rate on those profits, they stay offshore. So if you suspend the tax rates on those profits, some of them will come back home. My dad would say, that's a no-brainer. How smart do you have to be to figure that one out? Let those profits come home. And then one of the other things that I will put in the engine in order to get this economy going, I'm getting to that one, a real payroll tax holiday for employers and employees of the full 6.2% for a year so people can pay some bills that they have created. Give the workers a break. Give businesses a break. And then, most importantly, with the exception of the payroll tax, Make those tax rates permanent. Remove uncertainty off of this economy and watch our GDP grow. Remove the uncertainty. This is not rocket science, folks. It's common sense. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't care how much the media spends it or the administration spends it. This economy is not going to get out of stalled between now and the end of 2012. So hang on, hold on for dear life. Help is on the way. Help is on the way. Now, when I talk about my plans for boosting the economy and talk about my plans for energy independence, I got a plan for that too. My plan for how we're going to deal with immigration. See, very quickly on energy, since somebody brought it up, the thing about energy is, you know, I would not go to Brazil. Y'all heard about this, huh? I would not go to Brazil, loan them money, a couple of $1 billion and some change, and then tell Brazil that America